The Russian government will ban the export of gasoline for all market participants from April 1st. The country's energy ministry is preparing a corresponding decision. Russian media reported on Friday, March 27, citing the results of a meeting held by Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak with representatives of Russian oil companies and industry agencies. The government's press service said the ban should serve to stabilize gasoline prices and prioritize the domestic market. It does not apply to deliveries under agreements concluded by the Russian government with the governments of other countries, as well as to diesel fuel. At the same time, the Russian Ministry of Energy reports that oil refining volumes in the country will remain at the level of March 2025. This will allow for a stable supply of oil products to the domestic market, writes the Kommersant newspaper. Gazprom Neft CEO Alexander Dukov said on the sidelines of a meeting of the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs with the participation of Russian President Vladimir Putin that a ban on gasoline exports from the Russian Federation is necessary in light of the consequences of the Israeli war against Iran. We are seeing a significant increase in world prices not only for oil, but also for petroleum products. Such a ban is needed so that gasoline from the Russian market does not wash out to foreign markets. That is, so that it does not become available for sale there at high prices. Kommersant quotes the businessman as saying, "This is not the first time such a ban has been imposed in Russia. The country's government has imposed such restrictions several times. After Russia's large-scale invasion of Ukraine and attacks on Russian oil refineries, the last restrictions on gasoline exports from the Russian Federation were only eased at the end of January 2026. On the night of March 25, Ukraine attacked the port of Ust-Luga in the Leningrad region, which also limited Russia's ability to export oil products, according to a source in Kommersant. This may lead to a decrease in oil refining and production in Russia in the near future." Israel and the United States launched a massive attack on Iranian targets on the morning of February 28. On the first day of fighting, Iran's supreme leader Ali Khamenei and a number of senior officials and security officials were killed. Ali was replaced by his 56-year-old son, Mojtaba Khamenei. One of the most significant consequences of the war for the entire world has been the sharp fluctuations in fuel prices. This was due to the fact that Iranian attacks on ships have stopped traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, a vital corridor through which about 20% of the world's oil supplies pass. In particular, at the opening of trading on March 9, Brent crude oil quotes were close to $120 per barrel. At the beginning of the year, this type of oil was sold for $60 per barrel. At the same time, the Persian Gulf countries began to report a decrease in oil production. It became difficult to place it in conditions where exports were not possible. Amid the fuel crisis, the United States has eased sanctions on Russia's oil sector imposed over the war in Ukraine. In particular, all countries except China are allowed to buy Russian oil stored on ships at sea. According to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, the temporary easing of sanctions could bring Russia up to $2 billion a month in revenue.